It is Friday, August 9th, 2024. Welcome to another edition of Baseball Today. This one brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. And no, that is not Chris Rose sitting across from me. That is our good boy, Jimmy O'Brien, filling in for C Rose as he takes on, I believe, some NFL Network stuff. And I told you we had a big guest. And this is about as big a guest as you can get on this show. Jimmy, thank you for stepping in. What's up, my guy?
Thanks for having me. Rose is out, Jake's out, just
BBD's out.
Yeah, whole crew. Summer Friday. It's a summer Friday here at JOMBOY Media. There's like 5 of us in the office.
I love it. And, you and I talk about shows all the time and kind of where we wanted to go with talking baseball. I feel like this show is kind of like right up your alley as far as like how you want to cover the game.
Yep.
So I'm excited to like bring you on and kind of bring you into the Baseball Today world because we have a great time when we do this show.
Yeah, I've been jealous. 5 topics, keep it punchy, keep it moving. This is nice.
And we start off with a tip of the cap every single episode. And actually, this one's to you for filling in on such short notice. I mentioned earlier, we tried to get Katie Wu on. She's kind of been like our number one reliever out of the pen, and she wasn't able to line up her schedule. Jerry Blevins, same thing. And I was like, you know what? Let me ask Jim. And you obliged. And again, I think the people are going to be really, really excited. So you get the tip of the cap. That doesn't happen very often on this show, Jimmy.
I am honored. I was about to tip my cap, tip it to myself. I'll do it when I'm in the bathroom, looking at myself in the mirror.
I love that. All right, let's get right into it. Hey, congratulations to the White Sox. They ended their losing streak against the A's. Get a little bit of snaps, a little golf clap for them. And they have now fired, or there's a better way they put it, I believe, relieved of his duties. Pedro Grifol. That's a nice way to put you were fired, Pedro. And in the interim, they brought in a guy that a lot of baseball fans are familiar with in Grady Sizemore. He's believed to only be the interim. They're going to go on an extensive search to find a replacement next year. Although I don't know, why is he not part of that search? Maybe he will be. My question to you, Jimmy, is you're Grady Sizemore. Okay.
Yep.
Just get into that mode. You walk into the clubhouse first day after being named the interim manager. You're looking at all the guys sitting around in their lockers. What's the first thing that you say to them?
I am saying 15 wins. I'm saying pressure's on. You got to avoid history. 15 wins, and you do not go down as the worst baseball team to ever play. The Mets remain. You don't lose 120 games. Pressure isn't off because we suck. You win 15 more games, you're not remembered. 1962 Mets remembered. So that's one route to go. Hey.
Okay.
If you think the pressure's on now. Let's just do it. It's 15 wins. Let's not be the worst team in fucking history. That would be awful.
I like that.
The other message I would say is I would look at the rookies, the guys they called up. Jonathan Cannon's been pitching well. Kai Bush, Brooks Baldwin, good name.
Yeah.
I'd be like, learn to swim, right? You're just getting thrown in. This is an experience that a lot of guys at your level, especially like Brooks Baldwin wasn't a top pick, 12th round pick, but he's going off this year. So they promote him. He wasn't really on people's radar. Same with Cannon, picked 101st, and he's the first to rise from his draft group. So this is an experience that a lot of guys don't get, but because the team has been so bad, you're in the deep end. So learn to swim, use this so you can come back next year and make the corrections, understand the league, understand the pitchers. This is a crash course for the young guys. They don't have that many young guys. You'd like them to have more. It's a lot of guys that are like, shit, man, you should have learned to swim already.
I like both of those things. And I think that, pointing out hey, this is the amount of games we have to win to not be the worst team in baseball history. That's important for them to know, although I'm sure they probably already know that. I think if I was Grady, I would go more along the lines of trying to relate to them. I don't think they were really relating to Pedro Grifol. And Grady can go in there. What's that?
And Grady's been there. So like, that's probably why he got tapped, because he probably has been the guy that has been talking to the kids the most.
That's what I'm saying. You use that to your advantage to try to instill some confidence in these guys. You can tell them, "Hey, man, like I've been in your shoes before. Like let's go out and what I would say is, you have 7 weeks left of baseball. Okay, 7 weeks is enough time for you to establish yourself for next year, to establish yourself in the big league. Shit, my career got established from 6 weeks in June of 2012, and I became the starter. And then I had some leash going forward, and all of a sudden, I'm a starter in the big leagues. You have to be able to convince these guys in the clubhouse that, number one, the season is still worth playing for. Because I think showing up to the field lately for them, it was just like, what are we doing here? Like, you have to be able to convince these guys, hey, show up. There is still work to be done. And look, I know that this is a team game. So yeah, let's not lose the most games in baseball history, but you have to personalize it for them as well and say, this, like you were saying before, like, swim, don't sink. You have to be able to use this opportunity to establish yourself going into next year. I guarantee the Chicago White Sox are going to have, and I always say that there's no such thing as a spring training battle. There's open competition in the White Sox organization right now. So you have to go in there and convince these guys, get your head start on that competition right now, because this might be your only opportunity. So you really, really, really got to step it up. And then the last thing I would say, Jimmy, and I don't know if you know this about Grady Sizemore, but it's a minor league folklore story, which I believe is true. And you're of age that you might even know who I'm talking about here. I tried to remember this on Talking Baseball, kind of flubbed it a little bit. Grady Sizemore, when he was in like Kinston, I think it's Virginia, or maybe it's West Virginia. He's a minor league ball player. Jamie Presley is from there. They meet at a bar. They end up like hooking up a little bit. So you use that confidence and you instill. Do you know who Jamie Presley is?
Yes, I knew who Jamie Presley is.
Okay, there you go. People of our age know who that is. I think you got to use that. I think you got to like be one of the boys with the guys. That's a story that every person like my age that played baseball knows. And it's like, besides the stuff that he did in Cleveland and what he did on the field, he's got that personality. I think it's going to be interesting to see what he does there in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, also you can Google Grady Sizemore mug images.
Okay. Hot Boy, one of the original Hot Boys in baseball.
He's got the picture of him naked with a mug over his junk, right? In the mirror. That's him.
That would be a good way to just hand that picture out to every single person. Make sure it's on their chair in the locker room.
I'm pretty sure that's him. Could be misremembering. Pedro Grifol, one of his last quotes was that we're well aware of the streak. We're counting it. We know. I'm like, damn, dude, don't do that. That's such a bummer. Like, count wins, not losses, weirdo. That's such a bad mentality. He's like, we're well aware. We're counting every day. It's like, that's pretty bad energy, man. And then the other thing I just want to say before we move on, Michael Kay on the Yankees Network had like a different reaction to the firing after the win than I did, that I think he's correct. He was like, at least they let him get the win. And I just was like, oh yeah, they probably were waiting. Like, let's not fire this dude on a historic losing streak. And then and it's still not really nice, but they let him end the streak so that his manager career wasn't remembered forever as losing streak. They probably want to do this earlier, in my opinion. And then they're
like, can you please just win a game, please?
Win one game, so like we can do this and not leave you with this on your record.
I honestly could talk about this so much more because I think it really is a fascinating story. Like, when did Grady Sizemore know? Did they get in his ear? Like, hey, as soon as you guys win a game, you're in. I don't know.
They fired all the coaches, which is fine. And they did publicly say they're going to hire the next manager from outside the organization. So it won't be Grady Sizemore.
Yeah, I know some of those guys. Eddie Rodriguez, I did a Team USA with him. So some guys that are long stays in the game of baseball. Got fired. Let's move on to the second question. I sent you over an article. It was by Thomas Harrigan on MLB.com, and it was referencing 10 players who need to step up for the Contenders post deadline. Amongst them, they mentioned Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, Alex Bregman, Cutter Crawford, Clay Holmes, Pablo Lopez, MJ Melendez, Joey Ortiz, and Spencer Schwellenbach. I asked you, Jimmy, I said, if you were to pick one of those guys that you're most confident in, that's going to step up, that also includes Gavin Williams, forgot him. Who would it be from amongst those guys I just mentioned? Guys that, their teams desperately need them to kind of step up their performance in order for them to, ensure their playoff appearance or even make the playoffs in general.
Yeah. So the way you phrased the question, Alex Bregman's the easy answer for me. I mean, Houston's in a fight. Every now and then they're not even in the wild card picture. Like 3 days ago, I looked it up and Seattle was in the division, and then they're back. Now they're winning the division and the Mariners are outside the wild card. So it's seeming right now that the AL West is only sending one team. So it is a desperate need to win the division. They didn't go get any other infield help, any other big bats to really help out. So Bregman's the dude. And if you're saying it's a guarantee, like you need someone that's a guarantee, in Bregman in his career, he's better in the second half by 100 points OPS, 905 OPS second half, 805 first. And the last 2 seasons have been even more significant and could be a lot of things. I would, my good pal George already said this about the Phillies recently that I said as well. And a lot of people would scoff and say it's dumb. But Joe Girardi said it as well. So it's not dumb. He's a manager and a smart guy. Bregman got a case of don't give a fucks. I go to the playoffs every year and it's May. I don't give a fuck. Because the Phillies just went through a don't give a fuck stretch as well. Like, just get me to the playoffs. I think he's going to start ticking up, and I think he has to. His metrics are weird, Trev. He's swinging way more, but swinging and missing less. So he's getting to balls that are outside the zone that he used to not swing at, or when he did swing, he would swing and miss. Now he's putting them in play for worse contact. So if you look at all his metrics, all the expected numbers are way down because he's just usually a little more selective. So when he swings, he gets it pretty well. But for him, he's swinging more and missing less, which is more of like a Luis Ariz approach, but he's not getting those results. So I think he's got to be a little more selective. I think that might be because he wants to do damage and not just pass the baton. But I would say just you got to wait, get your own pitches, start pulling it more, find the Crawford boxes. But I think he's probably going to have a big second half and help them because the Astros don't die.
That would have been my pick as well. As you mentioned, over his career, August and September have been his highest OPS months. So like we're just expecting him to go do this. And because, like you mentioned, it's the Astros, it's Alex Bregman. As soon as it gets to crunch time, you expect them to just step it up. As you mentioned, they're tied above the AL West. And only one of those teams is going to make the playoffs. And the Astros, believe it or not, will have to win the 3 last games they play against each other to own the tiebreaker against Seattle. Seattle has been above in the season series, and there's no game 163 this year. So I think it's the second to last series of the year these two teams play each other. And for the Astros to get that tiebreaker, they're going to have to sweep. We've seen them do that before, man.
Like, this is set up. Let's set up for Mariners heartbreak. Not that I'm rooting for that. Go Mariners go, but it's set up.
So I was going to go Bregman, but I'll pivot a little bit here. I think the Gavin Williams of the Guardians is probably the guy that needs to step up the most for his team. He's back pitching, and he's had like 4 or 5 starts since he's been back. He's only gotten through 6 innings one time, and if there's anything that the Guardians need more than anything, it's a pitcher that can give them some length to make sure the bullpen isn't just dead, as it's kind of what's been happening with the Guardians as of late. They have a great bullpen. It's the best in baseball, but when you start to overuse it like they have, all of a sudden the cracks start to show and you get some leads blown. And that's what we've seen from them, as I believe they're on a 5-game loser right now going into a stretch, Jimmy. We're starting today. They play 22 games in 22 days, which you're not even supposed to be able to do, but because they had a doubleheader with the Twins today, which we'll talk about in a little bit, they're going to have to do it. So I think Gavin Williams really needs to step up. I could also mention Pablo Lopez and kind of say the same thing about him. He has not been the ace that the Twins need. The Twins are kind of aceless right now. So Joe Ryan just went out with forearm tightness. They're doing, an MRI on him. We'll see what happens. But Pablo really, really needs to step it up if the Twins really want to make a run at this thing. I think they're going to make the playoffs. But if you want to be a true playoff team, like Bailey Ober has been fantastic. So you have Bailey Ober. Hopefully Joe Ryan's okay, but you need a third guy in there. And Pablo Lopez has to be that guy. He should be, the quote unquote ace of the Twins. He really hasn't been that yet. So I think he really needs to step it up. But I agree with you for answering the question. Bregman's the easiest choice there for the guy that we have the most confidence in.
Yeah.
And before we get to question 3, we are going to talk to you a little bit about Farmer's Dog. Every day, more dog people and more vets are quitting the kibble, kicking the can, and feed their dogs dog food that's actually, Jimmy, it's food. The Farmer's Dog food is developed with vets, made fresh from real meat and veggies, portioned for your dog and delivered right to your door. A lot of times you're feeding the dog, it looks like kitty litter out there. They don't want that stuff. They want the real food. That's why they're always begging at the table next to you. The Farmer's Dog isn't just fresh, higher quality food. They also send the food pre-portioned specifically for your dog, and it's based on their unique nutritional needs. It's smart, healthy pet food. You can feel good about feeding your pup. It's the best option for dogs of all life stages, from puppy to your super senior. And because it's not kibble, it's not canned goo, it's just real health food. So it doesn't matter if your dog is young or old. It's always the right time to begin investing in their health and help keep your dog healthy and playing ball with 50% off. That's what I'm talking about. 50% off your first box at thefarmersdog.com/today. Plus, you get free shipping. Just go to thefarmersdog.com/today to get 50% off. And as C. Rose likes to say, your dog will look at you with those big, beautiful eyes and say, I love you. I tried. Chris Rose does this silly Farmer's Dog ad read that I can't match the energy, dude. He's one of those guys. Actually, I'm supposed to be getting a dog. My kids really want one. So yeah, as soon as I get one, I'm obviously doing Farmer's Dog, Jimmy. I don't know what kind of dog we're going to get. We had a bear in our neighborhood over the last week. So we got bears and coyotes. I got to get a bigger dog.
Yeah. Little dog get eaten up.
Yes. There's owls that'll eat your dog. My neighborhood's nuts, dude. You got to watch out for it. Okay. Speaking of family, speaking of, dogs are great for kids. We have so much young talent in the game right now. You can point to Bobby Witt Jr. You can point to Gunnar Henderson. You can point to Ellie De La Cruz. I mean, the list goes on and on and on with guys in the league who are performing. Jackson Holiday is doing his thing. Jackson Churio, Jackson Merrill. They're just getting the job done. So, when I'm doing youth baseball, Jimmy, I'm seeing all these kids emulating their favorite stars. Right now, I think probably Fernando Tatis Jr. is one of the guys they're emulating the most. Shohei with the whole Dodger thing, the Freddie Freeman dance. You see that all the time. Brian Buxton and the buck truck pulling the lever is a big thing in youth baseball. So my question to you is, as a father,
yes,
baby James, we see him playing ball with you all the time. Who's the guy you'd want him to emulate their game most?
So I went Bobby Witt because as a little kid, shortstop, I want to hit homers. I want to steal bases. I want to play great defense. I want to do everything. And you're like, yeah, that's it. And it's somewhat realistic for my bloodline. And then I went, no, let's get a little more realistic for if James happens to be what my dad and my brother are height wise. And then I love catchers. So I went Gabby Moreno.
Oh, wow.
He's a stud defensively. He's a stud offensively. He's young. There's other catchers out there that can do both, but he's pretty young. He's got certain skills, absolutely crushes lefties. So it's not just and he can hit. He's he got the 5th best something against lefties, OPS or results. And when I watch him play, he seems very confident. He seems very mature for his age. So I was trying to think of a guy that wasn't Bobby Witt because that's the easy answer. And I did a deep think, or a shallow. It wasn't that deep. It was a shallow, young catcher, Gabby Moreno. But when I watch him play, I love watching him play. And I love watching catchers play. So
I do too, and I love how you brought like the bloodline into this equation.
yeah,
Like,
he's
okay,
5'11",
like
you know.
I think the same thing with my answer. Like, of course, I want to say Ellie De La Cruz, and I want to say Bobby Witt Jr. Because these guys are probably, you know, two of, if not the most electric guys in all of baseball. But I was never very fast. He's not going to be able to steal bases like that. Right now, he's quick, but it's going to catch up to him, you know. So I don't think that's going to be his path. But I think, you know, best case scenario, you talk about a shortstop in the big leagues. Everybody wants their son to be a shortstop in the big leagues. It's just very impossible. So I am going off the list. And I forgot to mention this guy from the rip, but I'm going to go Paul Skeens. And for a couple different reasons. Obviously, do I think Teddy's going to be able to throw 100 miles an hour? Like, probably not. I don't know. Maybe by then, 100 miles an hour won't even be that fast. Maybe it'll be like, you only throw 100, bro? Like, when you throw 95 now, people don't even bat an eye. But I think it's more for like what he kind of represents off the field for me. He's like known around the league as one of the harder workers. He's like said that like when he was at LSU, he would like go up to his teammates, say, "I'm going to outwork you. I'm going to outwork you. I'm going to outwork you." He has this mentality, right, where he's so confident. And I think that's the biggest thing I want Teddy to be in life. And I don't care what he does. I just want him to be confident in himself. I think that just goes so far. Like I had to learn that trait, Jimmy. You know, like I got, you know, beat down in the minor leagues where I lost all of my confidence. You know, it's very difficult when you don't have success and you just are surrounded by all these athletes and you're just wondering like if anything's going to happen. I had to like teach myself how to have confidence again. And I just want him to have that. And it seems like Paul Skeens has it in spades. There's this one quote by Livy Dunn, his girlfriend, and she says, "I've never met anyone that thinks like Paul thinks." And like I think that's what she's alluding to, where he just like he knows what he wants, he knows how to get it, and he's just going to go do it.
Yep.
And then there was a time where I think he faced the Cubs in back-to-back starts.
His first
and
two
they
starts.
they asked him like, how do you think it's going to be for you, like game plan? He goes, I think he said like, good luck. Like, good luck to the Cubs. Like, I want Teddy to have that confidence. And from all accounts, you know, he stays and he signs autographs. He started out at the Air Force Academy before transferring to LSU and wants to go. He said when he's done playing, serve the country in some capacity. Like, he just kind of seems like he's got a good head on his shoulder. So as much as I think both you and I want the Bobby Witt Jr., Ellie De La Cruz situation, I think we kind of nailed it there. I like that.
Yeah. And I think it's easy to have the confidence because he unfortunately has never been just one of the pack.
Yeah.
Agreed. Great. It'd probably take him like he started the All-Star game. So even when he got to, you know, the MLB plus, he was still the starter.
But you don't get that. You don't get to start the
know.
All-Star game and without just like having some unreal sense of confidence. It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. That was good. I like that question. Got me in my feelings a little bit thinking about Teddy and stuff growing up. Shoot. The National League. It's been a very interesting race to watch over the course of the year. It's gotten more interesting. The Phillies took 2 or 3 from the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. They also swept them at home. The Brewers crushed the Braves 34-12, including a 10-0 and a 16-7 victory on Tuesday and Thursday. They swept them. Arizona has started playing well. The Padres just swept the Pirates in a crazy series. The Mets took 2 or 3 from the Rockies. There's all these teams kind of essentially finding their stride in the National League. So my question to you, James, is taking all that into account, who are your top 3 World Series threats in the NL? So not necessarily like who you think the 3 best teams are, but the 3 teams who you think have the best shot once you get into October.
I'm going to go cookie cutter first, and then I tried to give some actual reasons for other teams. One is cookie cutter Dodgers, because playoffs are how good you're good, to quote Jake, who steals that from Scott Van Pelt. Dodgers good is really good. Like their top starters have been awesome, especially Flaherty joining that. If he continues the top of their line, I don't need to tell you that. Like there's no, I don't have any interesting things for there. Second, Phillies. Everyone was worried about the Phillies' record against their soft schedule. Well, guess what? They have the best record against teams over 500 in the league right now. And they have a dominant record against teams below 500. They have a winning record against all the divisions, basically. So the Phillies just been winning. How good's they're good? Really good. Also, really hungry. They've done postseason, deep postseason runs. You gotta understand what that is, understand how to contribute if you're not on, and how to contribute if you're on. If you're the hot hand, you gotta just go fucking off like Adolis Garcia. If you're not, you gotta grind and pass the baton. So I think there's got to be so much learning from the Phillies. I want their bullpen to step up, but once they throw some starters around, I like the Phillies because I think mentally they're ready to really do it. I think last year they're probably pissed about how it ended for them. And then my sneaky one, I'm not sneaky, but probably wouldn't expect. I'm going to go Padres. And there's a couple reasons. They've been on a heater lately, but I like the offensive profile of their lineup a lot. The thing I like about it most is they got boppers, and then they got, contact guys, and they'll keep it moving. They'll put balls in play, put the pressure on you. They don't strike out, Trev, which I think is how you grind other teams down in a 5-game series, in a 7-game series. Make them throw their pitches, make them use their bullpen, and mentally, you're not going to get me out. So the Padres have the best strikeout percentage in the National League, fewest strikeouts in whatever percentage, 18% strikeout as a team in the National League. They have the highest batting average with 2 strikes on them in all of Major League Baseball. I think that's a factor if that keeps you in games, keeps you in innings, keeps you in at bats. So no easy outs is a lot of pressure for the other team. On the flip side, the Padres relief pitchers have walked the least amount of batters, or they're tied for third in the MLB for walks out of bullpen guys. And want to know why I like that? Because they got one of the best infields. Don't walk a dude. Let him hit it and let those guys go grab it. They rank out, according to the Inside Edge, like as top 5 infield. So I just like those combinations as post-game like team identities that I think they have going for them.
I love all those choices. I'm not putting the Dodgers in my 3 just because I wanted to talk about some other teams. Although I do agree with your statement, like how good is your good? Like they're going to be good.
I didn't want to put them, but then I knew that if I didn't, people would be like, why didn't you? And basically it's because it's not as interesting of a conversation. It's just they're fucking good.
They are good, but there's some cracks there. So I think there's actually there's a reason why I didn't put him in my 3.
Well, I want how medium's your medium. Their medium's pretty medium.
Yeah, I just think that I want to go like complete roster. Like when I go into the playoffs, I want to be able to say that I do things well on all sides of the ball. So I will add the Phillies. I think they are my team. The makeup of that team. I got to speak to Rob Thompson a little bit on Monday at Dodger Stadium. And I was like, yeah, you guys are having a good year. He's like, yeah, obviously we're playing bad lately. He goes, but it doesn't matter. He goes, the guys that we have in this clubhouse, they're veterans. They understand what's at stake. They go take 2 or 3 from the Dodgers. I think you can point to their starters, the bullpen, the lineup. Like they went and made adjustments at the trade deadline. I think they're a complete baseball team, and they've stayed relatively healthy all year, which I think is really important. So that kind of adds to it. But I think that they're kind of like a no-brainer. I picked them to win the World Series, so how could I not pick them in this discussion? And then I'll go with the 2 other NL West teams. I'll go Padres for all the reasons that you mentioned. I think that they have some really high-end starting pitching at the top. They've been doing all this. They've been so hot as of late, James. Like the hottest team in baseball, all without Fernando Tatis Jr. I think he's like obviously an X factor in all of this. If he comes back and bangs the way he can bang, like their lineup can play with anybody. So I like them a lot. Jackson Merrill's been so fun to watch, like from the beginning of the year, the kind of like the attitude to now, like he's just so much more confident, and obviously he should be. You're a rookie coming in, you get thrown out to center field. Now you're like, hey, I might win Rookie of the Year. Things are good for them. But I'm going to add the Diamondbacks, man. I think that they obviously know how to do it. And I always talk about teams that make it to the World Series and then lose, like the bitter taste in your mouth. And if you have the same team or you add to it, like all you think about is that they started the year off so poorly, had to deal with some injuries, but now like they're kind of clicking, dude. And their lineup is exactly what you're talking about. Like the different ways they can beat you, whether it's Ketel Marte, doing his thing. Corbin Carroll has really come on as of late. They can steal bags, they can take the extra base, they can hit homers. And then you talk about like fortifying their bullpen, what they did. They had to move off of Seawall, but they got a bunch of, back end options there. Justin Martinez, I don't know how much you watch this guy pitch. He's absolutely filthy. It wouldn't surprise me if he was kind of like their Kevin Ginkel this year. Remember Ginks last year kind of just became this shutdown reliever during the playoffs. And then you talk about, their top three starters. If Gallen's going to be the guy, we saw Brandon Pfaadt, kind of create himself in the playoffs last year. And Merrill Kelly's on his way back. Erod just made his debut. Like they have pitching depth. They have a deep bullpen. Their lineup is strong. And the way they've been playing as of late, Eugenio Suarez, dude, in July, one dotted it. Like he's come on super strong. So you like add him to the mix. Like their lineup just becomes long. They can beat you a bunch of different ways. So mix that with the fact that they were there last year and have just like that's all they can think about, dude, is we were so close to winning the fucking World Series. So I have to add them into the mix, man, the way they're playing right now.
Yeah, I like it. The National League's looking really fun and weird.
It is looking weird. It's gonna be a great show though. I'm super excited to see what happens. We're at that time, dude. August 9th, there's a lot of jockeying for position now. Then once we get into September, it's just like full bore. I'm so excited to see how these races go. And I guess it makes me a fan of the extra playoff team. I don't know. There's I guess there's good and bad that have come with it. But
right now it's a good year for it. But then when I get reminded that they start at 1:00 on a Tuesday.
Yeah, you don't like that.
And the bottom team has to play all three on the road. This just feels exhibition. It feels like an exhibition round of playoffs.
We'll get a chance to express our commissioner-based feelings later in the show, but before we move on to
hold on. I just think that people are learning. Like this is our third year of this, so yes. I think teams from front office and have learned it a little more. That's what I'm hoping has happened. Like when to buy in, when to sell, how to maneuver and stuff. The first 2 years, everyone's like not knowing how it's going to shake out or the ebbs and flows of like in August. Because credit to the Mets, man. Like right now they're in and the Braves are out. And 2 years ago, maybe they punt or like they go like all in. But I don't know. Hopefully we're learning, and that's why we're getting closer races deeper into this part of the year.
I still think we're learning how teams are going to address the trade deadline with the expanded playoffs, because there are teams who like kept, like the Texas Rangers, obviously they win the World Series last year. So I think maybe they owe it to their fans, but they, even after like a bad end to the first half before the All-Star break, they decided to not sell. And I think, the teams that were advantageous, like the Rays were really advantageous and they sold off. Like, I think it's becoming more of a decision now than it has been in years past, where you just really have to draw a hard line in the sand, like yes or no. So we'll see how teams end up, as soon as you have 3 or 4 years of data, that's when we see teams making more informed decisions. But, I know by and large, I think I like the extra spot. Do you want to tell us about the Dan Patrick Show and kind of the partnership that we have?
Yes. Dan Patrick partnership, Trev. They got Wake and Jake, and they got Jimmy's Three Things. Wake and Jake is Jake, and Foolish Bailey joins him a lot of the time. Jimmy's Three Things is me, just kind of rambling. No, I kind of go a deep dive into stats. Jake's talking about sports, baseball, or all sports, a lot of fun like drafts and stuff like that. And we partnered with Dan Patrick. We're part of their family and iHeart Podcasts. So if you listen to them, you can listen to us. You can go find us on the podcast feeds, or you can check them out on the Talking Baseball YouTube, or Wake and Jake has its own channel. It's been pretty exciting. They will take our episodes and like drop them into the main feed over there. So we have seen a giant bump and a crossover collab. So yeah, it was a cool partnership. It continues to be cool. We're excited about it. So go check out everything they're doing, and Wake and Jake and Jimmy's Three Things.
Love that. We'll go to the last question before our 5-hour energy question of the week. We'll go through this one quickly, James. Guardians and Twins have a 4-game series starting with a doubleheader today. in the what we're calling the Plouffe versus Rose Classic. Twins are just 3.5 games out of that AL Central lead, and the Royals are also 4 back. I believe they only have a 2-game series this weekend, so they'll be doing a lot of scoreboard watching. My question to you is, what will the AL Central standings look like after this series? Is there any chance we see a new team at the top?
I can't do the math on the standings, and I thought about it, and I tried, and I would have gotten to get Excel. I think the Twins are going to take 3 out of 4 in this series because the Guardians are just not set up. They had a doubleheader 2 days ago where every relief pitcher pitched. You talked about how the relievers are tired. In this game, this first game, they already put out a lineup, and they're doing doubleheader lineups. I was looking at, that's what I wanted to look at. Boone's first year of managing, doubleheaders were fucking horrible. It was 2 awful lineups because he was mixing and matching so many guys, and we're like, you kind of need to do 1 good one and 1 bad one. You can't do 2 bad ones. And then he pivoted to that and was like, all right, here's the good lineup, here's the punt lineup. And now guess what? We just do good lineups both games because we lost a lot. And Boone and co kind of realized, seems like that's what's going on in Cleveland right now. I looked at their doubleheader lineup 2 days ago, and I was like, oh, you got to do 1 good and 1 bad, or something. Like 2 mediocre is not great. Also, the kid pitching for them in game 1, he's just going to die out there if he doesn't have a good game. My Yankees also just did this yesterday or 2 days ago in a doubleheader when they had rookie Will Warren come up as the 27th man. And hey, we need 90 pitches from you, kid. No matter what you give us, he gave us 8 earned runs. So I just don't think the Guardians are set up, especially with that stretch you talked about, 23 games in 22 days or whatever it is, to go all in on this win. Twins bullpen is set up. They're well rested. They actually need to pitch today just to stay regular, a lot of those guys. So I think the Twins are set up better. I think if the Twins can throw a big number up in one of these 2 games today, they can control the rest of the series, and the Twins offense can do that. They're one of the best teams at bouncing back after their team gives up a run. Twins are like the 4th best at returning serve and scoring themselves. So I like the Twins in this series. I don't know. I think that's just circumstantial, not like a postseason prediction. But right now, they're a little set up to attack, I think.
I will answer my own question and say there will be no change at the top of the standings. That's ridiculous. The Twins would have to sweep this series. I just don't see that happening, especially because they're 0-5 against the Guardians this year. They haven't won a freaking game. But I'm not sure on this, and maybe I should have checked before. I don't think Royce Lewis has been part of any of those games, and he definitely is a game changer. I'd be happy with 3 or 4, but that would still leave them 1.5 games back of the division. And I think maybe that will happen for some of the reasons you mentioned, although the Twins are kind of throwing their back end of the rotation. Louis Varland's getting the spot start in game 2 today. And then it's Simeon Woods-Richardson, who's been kind of up and down. And then David Festa, a rookie, who's shown some good starts. I'm curious to see how Alex Cobb looks for the Guardians. He's an acquisition that they need him to step up. I talked about Gavin Williams earlier in the show and how he needs to help the bullpen out.
Well, I saw that, and I was like, well, they're not going to let Cobb die in game 2. So they're going to have to save some bullpen for Cobb because they just, added him. So they're not going to. So this kid in game 1, he might be, I don't know what he's stretched to, but I would guess he's got to give him length.
So I'm gonna. This is the question I wanted to ask you. So I always talk about, dude, it's a doubleheader. It's so hard to sweep a doubleheader. Your chances of doing that are so minimum. You're most likely going to split it. Do you know what the percentage is since 2000 in whether you split a doubleheader or you sweep it?
No, but I'd guess it's like 75% of the time you split it.
I feel the same way. Okay. It is from 2000 until today. It's 50-50, James.
Give me from 2017 until today, because the game changed a lot in those.
We got to look that up. Maybe on the next show.
The way managers attack things changed a lot.
That actually sounds like a Jimmy's 3 thing topic. So there, you can have that. I was surprised. I saw that on a Reddit thread because I was looking it up. 50-50 for that. So answering my own question, no, there will be no change atop of the standings. I will be praying for 3 out of 4 from the Guardians as my Twins look to get going. Prayers to Joe Ryan right now. And that brings us, Jimmy, to the end of the show, where we are going to have because it's Friday, our 5-Hour Energy question of the week. Thank you to 5-Hour Energy for sponsoring the show. Sugar-free caffeine. You got to love it. And the question comes from Matteo Crismani. And I actually like this question. I think you and I are going to have fun with it. As we look forward to the Olympics in LA in 2028 with baseball on the world stage, what rule changes should be implemented? Automatic ball strike, pitch clock, 2 DHs, etc., so that we present the best product to the largest stage. And ABS is not, it's automated ball strike, not automatic. Sorry. What do you got?
Baseball fans are not going to like my answer here.
Love that.
Because we are not trying to entertain or win you over. So I learned this when I did the Cricket World Cup coverage. The games they put on display in New York, people that hadn't watched before, this is entertaining. I like this. All the cricket people that I was sitting with, like, this is awful. This is not what cricket is. A lot of times your best way to get new fans is not to do what your diehards enjoy. That goes for like any company, any business. To grow, you kind of got to do something else. And then you hope they come in and then they like the intricacies. Because all of my coworkers at the World Cup, they went to a Yankees game. They went to check out baseball. They were excited. They fucking hated it because they saw an electric pitcher's duel. Like, I was through the roof watching this game. I was like, this is awesome. They're like stranding base runners. They're striking them out. There's great defense. They came back the next day and they're like 0-0 through 7. Awful. Awful. So that's why they juice the balls when they go to London, and all of a sudden starting pitchers can't get a single out and balls are going through. So give me shorter boundaries, give me home run, easy walls, and give me any other rule that puts base runners on and action happens. That's how you grow the game. Pitchers duels, all the intricacies that I love with all my heart. That's like 8th grade level math. And you got to welcome someone in with arithmetic. So it just needs to be promote action. I don't know the rules. Juice the balls. You don't want to be 10-8, although we did that in London and everyone there loved it. So it's
sell a lot of beer. I think that's a good one too.
Yeah.
I love that you said shorten the boundaries. You're in full on cricket mode right there.
Yep.
I actually had a guy that I played tennis with. He's a tennis guy and went to a Cubs game. He was like, yeah, slow game. It was 0-0 through 7. And I'm like, okay, well, that's like not a slow game. That's actually a fast game because there's no run scored. But I'm there with you. And I guess my change, which I've talked about on this show before, is along the same lines. I think if your team is down 2 or more runs going into the 9th inning of a baseball game, I think you should be able to choose where you start hitting in the lineup, because every other sport does that, Jimmy, where the best player that has the ball in their hands at the end of the game. Football, you have the 2-minute drive with your quarterback having the ball in his hand. Basketball, like obviously your best guy is going to take the shot, or at least going to set up the play. You can go on and on and on. Baseball is the only sport where it's like, dude, we don't know what's going to happen, who's going to come up at the end of the game. Sure, you could pinch hit, but I'd much rather have the ability to see my stars have a chance to win the game at the end than your 7, 8, 9 hitters. Guys, specifically in the Olympics, you're definitely not going to know who they are. You want your guys who have the best chance to produce, some sort of comeback to be up there. So that will be my change. If you're down 2 runs or more, you get to pick where you hit in the lineup going into that last inning.
That's still for me. I'm like, but we're not trying to, you know what I mean? Like, I'm one of the people that's like, I don't know. But if that entertains people in the Olympics, go get new fans to enjoy the sport.
I would love that in Major League Baseball, Jimmy. I'm being serious. I think that would be a revolutionary change to our sport.
I would like that in extra innings. Like I wouldn't mind that compared to the Manfred Man at all. If in the regular season, the 10th inning was we select the 3 we want, and you select the 3 you like, we select the batting order willy-nilly. Like if the first guy strikes out, we send a new guy up. Like in regular season extra innings, I wouldn't mind that at all, because in comparison to the Manfred Man, which is a sack fly sack bunt competition, it'd be way more entertaining.
I like it. I just think there's something there. We can iron out the details later.
Just
But
don't
hey,
Little League World Series continuous batting order. I know they're kids and you got to be fair, but oh boy, Trev, some of these 12-year-old kids that are batting 12th are getting like the Connecticut team had their 12th batter. He was up with the game online. They had him bunt with 2 strikes. He bunted out. It was sad. Like, that's sad. That's sad that you made him do it. That's sad that he didn't get it down. Why is this a rule? I know they're kids. You want them to hit, but I don't know. 12 hitters. The games are like tough.
it's when you're at this young age and you want everyone to play, and the parents want their kids to play. I'm speaking specifically from my experiences. Like sometimes the kids like want to be sheltered from some experiences, like you're saying. Like,
Don't want
so
to.
I would say the parents would be like, "Hey, I want my kid to pitch." I'm like, "Your kid doesn't want to pitch. Like, it's not the right time to force him out there right now. Like, he's probably going to start crying on the mound. Like,
People
we can
want
go on and on talking about
just clear communication. When Luke played Little League, and I wasn't like a coach, but I was at every practice, helped. It was very clear. Hey, this is travel. This is travel ball. We got 12 guys. 6 are going to play all 6 innings. The other 6, you're going to split it 3 and 3. If you earn a switch, you earn a switch. Your role in those 3 innings, we're going to need you to put the ball in play. We're going to need you to get outs in the outfield. Like, if that's how you win and you contribute. And some kids would much rather be like, okay, if I like catch the ball when it comes to me, I've done my job. That's my win. And they're happy to contribute. They don't want to be up on with the game on the line in the Star. So, but like, so the continuous batting order is tough.
Dude, we could talk about baseball all day. Look at this. We went from Olympics, we went to Little League, went to big league ball playoffs. I actually miss chopping it up with you, dude. And I do. This has been fun.
It's been good. I like that picture behind you too.
Oh, thank you. I'm in a random office at my hotel. They were nice enough to give it to me. So here I am working on my vacation.
You could tell me I drew that, or you could tell me it's worth $1 million. I believe both.
It's in a nice Mexican hotel. I don't know who the artist is, but yeah, it's been good, man. So that brings us to the end of our show. And so I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank our wonderful intern, Tommy Young, who you gave a nice compliment to in the way he formed the questions and sent it over. Our super producer, Dan Rourke. We love him as well. So thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Jimmy, for coming on. I'm trying to do this like Chris Rose does it. I can't, so I'm not going to do it. I'm Trevor Plouffe. I'll be back with Chris, I believe, on Monday, and we'll do this all over again. Unless you in the comment section right now says, get Chris Rose out of here. It's Jimmy and Trev for the rest of the season. Maybe we'll make that happen too. But we will catch you guys. I don't know who it's going to be with. Me and Jimmy? Probably not. It's probably going to be me and Chris. We'll see you on Monday for another edition of Baseball Today.
See ya.